Hello again. So thank you very much for getting in touch. And today I'd like to address some of the comments that you made. And I'm going to begin like this. So one day, John, who was a taxi driver, got a call over the radio asking if he would go to West London and pick up a hire and take them to an address. So of course he wanted to make some money, so he accepted the hire and off he trotted and arrived duly in West London, Ladbroke Grove, to find an elderly lady standing outside quite a large property. And she had two suitcases, one at either side of her. And she was standing there with a big smile on her face, looking all around. So he rolled down the window and asked, "Excuse me, ma'am, are you waiting for a taxi?" She said, "Yes, I am, sir. Thank you very much indeed." "Would you like some help?" he says. "Oh, that would be really lovely." So he jumps out the car and opens the boot, goes round, picks up both suitcases, puts them in the boot, opens the door for the lady, and invites her to sit inside. So she duly goes inside. John pops into the driver's seat, confirms the address, and carries on the journey. And as they're driving, the lady says, "Would you mind very much if we drove by what used to be my primary school?" "No, of course not," John said. He's thinking to himself, all the better for me. The longer and windier the road, obviously, the more money he's going to make, and his little taximeter is going to be click, 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 clicking all the way to the bank. So she gives directions and they drive by, and fortunately the facade of the school is still there. And he slows down and she starts to reminisce and tell a few stories about her primary school. And then they carry on their way. And John gets back onto the route of going to the original address for the original hire. And then after a few moments, the old woman says, "Would you mind terribly if we just took a very slight detour and drove by my very first house?" And he said, "No, of course not," thinking again, this is wonderful. And as they drive near the house, the lady begins to tell the story of how she met her husband, how they had a whirlwind romance, engaged and married very quickly, and were very fortunate to buy this house within 6 months of being married. And as they drove on, she told the story of three of her children who'd grown up and the husband had died. And various things happened with the families. They moved abroad, they moved further away, and she got round to telling the story that it had come time for her to move into a home because she wasn't able to manage too well on her own. So as they were driving, she made one final request to go by the old church where they got married and where she had buried her husband. And as they were driving, she said, "I'm ever so grateful for my life. It's been such a wonderful life. He was a wonderful man, wonderful father, and we spent so many wonderful years together. And now I'm really, really looking forward to this new adventure in my life. I'm really looking forward to this new home. It's a beautiful, beautiful place, and I'm so grateful for it." So after another 20 minutes, they arrive outside this nursing home. And John jumps out, and although it said £45 in the meter, he charged her 20 because he really enjoyed listening to the stories. And indeed, his own day had been, transformed into something wonderful. Listening to the stories of this old woman, and her enthusiasm and happiness was just infectious. So he jumped out and took his £20 and put the suitcases on the pavement and asked if she would like some help. But just at that point, one of the care assistants came out of the home and walked downstairs and said, "Hello, are you Mrs. Jones?" And she said, "Yes, I am, dear. Thank you so much. I knew I was going to love it here, and this is wonderful." So she said goodbye to John, and John drove off. And the care assistant grabbed her bags and started walking up the stairs and giving a bit of a running commentary on the home. And as they walked in, he said, "This is the reception area, and there's a dining room and social room to the right-hand side." She said, "Oh, I know. Isn't it wonderful? I'm just going to love it here. It's absolutely fantastic." And then he went down the corridor, they went into a library. He said, we've got every book you can imagine here. The library's replenished every 6 months. And she said, I know, it's wonderful. It's absolutely wonderful. It's the best home I could possibly find. And then he began to explain about the menu and when they would meet for meals. And everything he said, she said, I know, this is wonderful. It's fantastic. It's the best place I've ever been to. And as he was just going into the room with her to show her where she was going to stay, she said, this is the best room in the whole house and the best room that I've ever stayed in. And I'm really looking forward to this new adventure. And at that point, the care assistant said, have you actually been here before? Have you visited the place? Because you seem to know that it's very nice and it's lovely and you seem quite excited to be here. And the old woman said, no, I've never been here before. This is the first time I've been here. But I decided this morning when I started this adventure that it was going to be the best, happiest, and most fruitful adventure of my life. And that's why I'm so grateful just to be here. Wow. So we can decide to be happy, but there's a couple of things set in this story. And I'm only going to discuss one or two, well, maybe just the one, because I've been going on for quite a bit. And that is, how can I create happiness? And the answer is in the question. How do I create happiness? Well, there's one trick or one technique or whatever you want to call it, or one magic spell that we can use in order to create happiness. And that's the practice of gratitude. It's the practice of faking it until you make it, if you will. It's about taking one thing in your day. Some people suggest when you brush your teeth, either in the morning or in the night time. Others suggest just before you close your eyes and go to sleep. Review your day from start to finish and see if you can find 3 things that you may have encountered throughout your day. They may have been events, they may have been people, they may have been something that you witnessed. It may have been a bird in flight or a tree swaying or some rain perhaps. But 3 things that you've noticed throughout your day that you can consider a gift. And just be grateful for that gift and see how you feel. Happiness is a practice. And if we begin by practicing gratitude, it's a very good first step in creating happiness throughout the rest of our day. Okay, I'm going to end for now, and I'll speak to you again later, very soon. Until next time, all the best. Bye for now.